His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. I'm very happy to have been invited to this conference, and it's really an honor to have the opportunity to speak here on behalf of the European Commission, where the whole European community of forensics seems to be present and beyond, as we learned. First of all, I would like to bring you the best regards of my Director General, Mr. Manservisi, of DG Home Affairs, who cannot be here personally today. I was asked by the organizer to start with a short explanation what the general role of the European Commission is, since maybe not all of you are familiar with the function of my organization. In particular, for our guests from non-European countries, this might be indeed helpful. So in very short words, the Commission, the European Commission, is, so to speak, the executive body of the European Union. This means that it administrates EU law and EU policy, and it is furthermore often associated with the exclusive right for legislative initiative. This is the right to propose legislation. This is true for large parts of the EU policy indeed, but not quite correct for home affairs and law enforcement. But still, it is true that after the Lisbon Treaty, that means for the last 2.5 years, the Commission's right to initiate processes has also been strengthened in this area. Let me now turn to forensics. What is the current situation at the Union level? First of all, we need to be aware that forensics is not an exercise which ends at the borders of the European Union. International expertise and exchange of knowledge is therefore key to bringing forward the science. Globally, forensics play an ever more important role for the fight against crime. The reason, as we already heard, for this trend is certainly based to a large part on technological developments. With technological developments, new types of crime have emerged, which need to be analyzed and countered with adjusted forensic methods. And at the same time, technology allows forensic researchers to produce innovative and improved products. Given this situation, it is not surprising that talking to forensic experts, we sometimes hear the opinion that this field should be highlighted more also on the agenda of the Commission. And indeed, this does not always seem to be the case. Looking, for example, at the Stockholm Programme, which is the current 5-year program for action in the area of internal security, this Stockholm Programme comprises about 200 pages, and you will find the term forensics only 2 times. People from the forensics community might think forensic science would deserve a whole chapter in such a program. It may be true that forensics for the time being is not among the highest policy priorities at the Union level, and the activities are rather limited. This does not mean, however, that this will always remain like this. In fact, the Commission is committed to constantly monitor relevant developments, and we endeavor to adjust our policies to emerging needs. The Commission fully acknowledges that forensic science is increasingly important for law enforcement. What have we achieved so far, and what is underway at the Union level? Let me try to give a short overview and highlight some examples. There is, as already mentioned before, the Council Framework Decision on accreditation of forensic service providers carrying out laboratory activities adopted in 2009. This piece of legislation is currently under implementation, and it will certainly take another couple of years for its full implementation. Still, I would say this is a very valuable first step in standardizing forensic analysis across Europe, on which we can build further steps and efforts. Furthermore, particular progress has been made in the area of exchange of forensic data. This data is being exchanged between competent law enforcement authorities already on a regular basis in some cases. We have, as already mentioned as well, the Council resolution defining a set of European standards for DNA markers. We also have the PRIM decisions of 2008, which include provisions for exchanging forensic data, again DNA and also fingerprints, in an automated way. This decision is also under implementation currently, and the Commission is going to present a dedicated report on the state of implementation end of this year. Moreover, cybercrime is an area where the Commission is very active, and digital and computer forensics will play a crucial part in this context. A European cybercrime center is planned to be set up here in The Hague, by the way, at the Europol headquarters. And among other tasks, it will provide member states with specific forensics expertise, and there are plans for a research lab for computer forensics as well. In this area, we must not forget the global dimension. That's why the Commission maintains regular contacts also to relevant stakeholders beyond the Union. As you probably know, Interpol is also developing a global complex of innovation to be located in Singapore. This complex will also contain a strong digital forensics component. These are just some highlights. In addition to these sectoral activities, there was the already mentioned cross-cutting initiative, which was launched under Polish presidency end of last year, with Council conclusions on a vision of European forensic science area 2020. I'm not going to repeat in detail the content here, but probably most of you are familiar with this initiative, and I assume that we agree that this paper contains a number of quite interesting ideas. So please allow me to make a couple of comments on this vision. One central assumption is that forensic products will be increasingly used in a cross-border context. And therefore, one important element of the vision is establishing common forensic standards where needed. To be able to identify the concrete requirements in this context, I think we should try to get an even better picture of the current situation in practice. How did, for example, the cross-border exchange of forensic products develop during the past years? This might differ a lot from one field of forensics to another. Do we know to a sufficiently detailed level what are the concrete concerns of police officers using these products? Clear answers and figures could be a strong argument for politicians to act to develop respective policy measures, also on the union level. As regards the use of evidence from one member state in the judicial process of another, the same thing applies. It would be interesting to know what is the view of judicial bodies here. The Commission thinks we still need to know more about the real business need to be able to specify what should be contained in such a vision. Therefore, I believe that the stronger involvement, in particular of the judicial authorities in this process, is indispensable. The Commission will therefore endeavor to raise the interests of the judicial side. But we do not have to start from scratch. As regards standardization, valuable work has been done above all in the framework of EAFS during the past years. And also valuable work is ongoing in the context of an initiative already mentioned by the speakers before me, of the Polish standardization body with the European Committee for Standardization, CEN. From the Commission point of view, this is indeed a very interesting approach, which is already covering an important part of the vision outlined in the Council conclusions. And I was glad to hear that right during this conference, a workshop will be organized in this vision as well. Unfortunately, I personally will not be able to attend this workshop, but I wish it the best success, and the Commission will certainly be happy to learn about its outcome. You might know that the Council, in its conclusions, invites the Member States and the Commission to develop an action plan to implement this vision. The Commission is going to support and contribute to the needed discussions. We already maintain regular contacts to relevant stakeholders and experts, which we intend to intensify during the months ahead. Here again, EAFS will certainly play an important role. But also forensics institutes not organized in this network will hopefully engage in the process. The Commission started to consult other international actors as well, like Interpol, Europol and Eurojust. The Commission is particularly pleased to hear that EAFS considers setting up a dedicated task force on the European Forensic Science Area 2020. Once we have an overview of what is already underway, like the mentioned Polish initiative or the ongoing EAFS activities, we will try to put together a list of relevant steps together with the mentioned stakeholders. It goes without saying that we rely on a strong commitment of Member States to be successful in this process. At the same time, I have also to mention that the Commission finds itself in a situation where it has to cover an increasing range of tasks with, at the best, stable resources. This is particularly true for DG Home after the Lisbon Treaty. So, to be honest, we cannot promise to double our resources allocated to forensic science, but we recognize the need to invest more in this field in the future. Finally, I'd like to say a few words about financial support, which is always part of the expectations, as I know, towards the Commission, and indeed it's also part of its tasks. I know that funding is particularly difficult to get in these times of financial crisis, where national budgets are often tight. Unfortunately, the same applies to the Union budget. Since 2007, more than 20 forensic projects were supported by the ISEC program, which is the relevant DG Home program for law enforcement, and these grants awarded in this period sum up to more than 8.7 million euro. As regards ENFSI, the Commission has recognized a special relevance of this network a few years ago by granting ENFSI the status of a monopoly partner. Out of the numerous law enforcement-related networks, only 4 have obtained this special position. This monopoly status means that ENFSI does not compete with other applicants. There is, so to speak, a certain amount of money reserved for the network in the mentioned ISEC program. Due to increasing tasks and budget cuts, we had unfortunately to reduce the monopoly grants in the annual working program for 2013. ENFSI, the ENFSI grant, was the only one where we decided to keep the level of the past years. Although we were not able to integrate an additional grant for the operational costs for ENFSI, the fact that we managed to keep the level of the action grant should be considered a success under the current circumstances. After 2013, the ISEC program will phase out. It will be replaced by an internal security fund under the next multi-annual financial framework from 2014 to 2020. Part of the money will continue to be managed centrally by the Commission. Probably, however, the bigger share will be administered under shared management. This basically means that funds will be managed in national programs in the member states. As a consequence, the forensic community should at an early stage, this means already in the coming months, initiate the domestic discussions how to allocate a reasonable share of these national programs to forensic projects. It goes without saying that the Commission will engage in these discussions with member states as well, and by doing this we will certainly support respective endeavors. Because we think, as I said before, that the importance of forensic science in law enforcement will increase in the years to come. Having said this, let me finish my short intervention by expressing my hope and my confidence that together with the forensics experts which gathered here today, we will manage to accompany this development in an expedient way. Thank you for your attention.